Phi Farley here. It's February 18th. It is Monday. We got a Monday update for you here, and NCAA basketball's best bet on a moderate slate of games here today. But I got one in particular that I'm biased on. I'm looking forward to. I've had this game circled for a long time. So looking forward to getting to that game here in just one second. First, let's talk about a little bit of where we've been. Here over the last month, daily best bets, NCAA basketball, 61.3%. That's 19 and 12. NBA's best bets, 57.1%. Since opening up Patreon, it's actually been a little bit slow. I've been a little bit disappointed, but that said, overall, 54.8% of winners over there on Patreon. Just Patreon picks alone. So if you haven't checked out patreon.com/Phi Farley, feel free to do so. Like I said, 58.8% over there so far. Daily best bets here last month, 61.3 NCAA basketball, and then 57.1. Looking for a winner today, so I'd like to get on another streak. It's really been hit and miss every other day. So looking to get another streak going. That's really been since Patreon's been going. So I don't think there's a correlation there. I just think it's a matter of fact, I know it's not because, well, one, I've done this for a very long time, but two, just knowing where the lines have been here the last 2 weeks, they've been very difficult. They've been tough lines to get your hands around and really pick out the top games. I've been able to do so on some of them, and some, of course, not. So looking forward to kind of getting a streak going here, starting with today's best bet. All right, before I get into that, if you haven't subscribed, please do so. Hit the notification bell, get my picks as soon as they come out. Follow along. Baseball season's around the corner, something to look forward to. Last year, made picks throughout the entire season. We were profitable all season long, so that's something to look forward to. I'll be continuing with patreon.com/Phi Farley and running that, as well as Twitter @Phi Farley is the handle. You can go over there, check that out too. We also got NBA coming back up. Looking forward to down the stretch. Then, of course, March Madness around the corner. So a lot to tune into. Feel free to follow along. All right, so let's talk about today's best bet. And like I said, I'm totally biased. Had this game circled. Eastern Washington University hosting the Idaho Vandals. So if you know me, if you followed along for all this time, I'm an Eastern Washington alumni. I love my Eagles, follow the Eagles. You saw that when they were in the national championship in football. Follow along quite closely to their team. Now let's talk about the inner workings, because like I said, I am biased. So you got to pull the data out of where the heart's coming from, right? You don't ever want to bet with your heart. So I got to just simply put the data out there, and you got to make up your own mind on this one. Eastern Washington this year, 6-1 at home. In fact, 6-0 of the last 6, only dropping the first game at home of the conference season when they placed Weber State, lost 84-72 at home. Outside of that, they have not only won, they've won very convincingly at home, beating top seed Montana, which is preseason ranked top seed, as well as now that we're in the home stretch, Montana still sitting number 1. They've also just dropped Northern Colorado, beating them by 10. Overtime victory, though, at home. Another solid victory. Weber State, they've not gotten their home rematch, or excuse me, a road rematch against them. But Montana State is also another team they have beaten at home on the season. Now, that said, Idaho Vandals, they have one win in conference the entire season. Who was it to? Very start of the season, third conference match. They beat Eastern Washington. They dropped them 74-71 down at U of I. Since then, they have been an absolute gong show. Total train wreck. They've been an awful team. KP has them ranked. Boy, it's going to be towards the basement. They are 348th out of 353 teams, respectively. So, we're not looking at a very good squad when it comes to Idaho. And now they're going on the road where they're particularly bad, into a place where Eastern Washington plays quite well. Let's look at the numbers. So this is really fascinating. When you look at Eastern Washington, just how many points scored home versus road, 11.5 points more scored at home versus road. That's significant, extremely significant. That alone will take you from in this conference to a top-notch team to a bottom basement team. 11.5 points, 65.7 on the road, 77.1 at home. Big difference. Now, second, the Vandals score 5 less points on the road than at home. If we just took that, if these teams were exactly even, just took the road versus the home difference in dynamic, we're covering the spread today. Now let's talk about what KP has this ranked at. They have University of Idaho 24.5 points below the average team. They have Eastern Washington 9.5 points below an average team. Difference of what does that make? 15 points. Throw on the 4.5 for home court advantage, which is being generous, or that's being a little light on that. That puts us to 18.5 point spread. Once again, we're going to be covering that 15.5. Line open up at 14. Has quickly been bet up to 15.5. I know it's a big number, but here we have revenge. We have a pretty significant revenge, as this is Eastern Washington's rival. So U of I not playing for much. I expect them to start off trying to hustle, but hustle only gets you so far. And then you're going to see Eastern Washington do one of those where they don't let up and get this game over 20. I think they win by over 20 here pretty easily. Or if we look at Idaho, also last couple games on the road, at Montana State was a 14-point loss, so just under that number. Then at Montana was a 41-point loss. At Portland State was a 16-point loss. At Sacramento State was a 21-point loss. So you could arguably say 3 of those 4 teams are not as good as Eastern Washington, especially on their home court. And 3 of the 4 would cover this 15.5 point spread. So all things said, I think we have an Eastern Washington minus 15.5 advantage here. I think it's a 20-point plus win for Eastern Washington. Look for them not to let up. Send a message to those Vandals that this rivalry clearly belongs in the hands of Eastern Washington. So there you go, my biased opinion. Eastern Washington Eagles minus 15.5. By the way, I'm probably going to be at this game tonight, so looking forward to it. Let's cash that ticket, Eastern Washington minus 15.5 daily best bet. Good luck, everyone, today. We'll see you again soon.